Welcome to Dice and Quills, where the art of storytelling meets the roll of the dice. I am Darren Ruckle, professional game master and TTRPG writer, here to share the craft behind world building, adventure design, and running unforgettable games. Whether you're a fellow creator, an aspiring pro, or a lifelong player, you're in the right place. So sharpen your quills, ready your dice, and let's dive into the worlds we imagine. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to episode 4 of Dice and Quills. Today we're talking about something that every game master, every TTRPG writer, and frankly every storyteller struggles with at some point. Creating adventure hooks that actually hook. You know what I mean, the moment where you pitch your players an idea and they either lean in with wide eyes or blink at you and ask, "Wait, what's the point again?" A great hook is the difference between a campaign that launches with energy and one that flounders in the first hour. I've written and run more campaigns than I can count, some homebrew, some published, and some wildly experimental. And if I've learned anything, it's this. The hook isn't just how you start the journey. It is the story, at least until the players take control. So in this episode, I'm going to give you everything I've learned over the years, the theory, the practice, and the hard-earned lessons. We'll break down what makes a hook actually work, the different types of hooks you can use, how to tailor a hook to your specific players, how to fix a hook that's not landing, and I'll share real examples from games I've run, the ones that took off and the ones that fell flat. And by the end of this episode, you'll have everything you need to build a story start that grabs your players by the collar and won't let go. Let's dive in. It's tempting to think of a hook as just the first encounter, a quick quest pitch, a call to action. But a hook does more than that. A good hook does 4 things right away. It creates urgency. Hooks are about tension, a ticking clock, a danger on the rise, a secret on the edge of being revealed. A village asks the party for help? Meh. But a dying messenger collapsing at their feet with a map to a kidnapped prince? That's tension. It gives direction. Hooks should make it immediately clear that what the players can do next. Not everything, just enough to move forward. If your hook ends with, "So what do you do now?" and the players don't know, it's probably too vague. It introduces tone. Is your game mysterious and slow burning? Bombastic and heroic? Grim and survival focused? Your hook sets expectations for what kind of campaign this will be. It starts creating buy-in. A good hook doesn't just ask, "What do you want to do?" It quietly asks, "Do you care about this?" And when players start caring, the campaign starts breathing. Let's break down what makes a hook actually work. A good hook doesn't just deliver information, it generates curiosity. It raises questions players want to answer, and it plants the seeds of a story they can't wait to chase. Here's the framework I use when writing or improvising a hook. Setup. Introduce a situation that feels grounded in the world. Tension. Introduce a problem or change. Direction. Show a way forward, even if it's incomplete. Here's an example, the missing caravan. Setup. The town's monthly supply caravan is overdue by 3 days. Tension. The mayor is desperate. Without it, the town will run out of food. The last group sent to investigate never returned. Direction. A local tracker just returned half mad with a broken wagon wheel and whispers of strange lights in the forest. Right there, you've introduced the world, created tension, and offered a way in. The party knows where to go, what's at stake, and that something isn't right. Here are 4 quick questions I ask myself before I run any hook, whether it's a one-shot, a campaign, or a session arc. Will this make the players ask questions? If your player responds to the hook with, "Wait, why did that happen?" or "Who would do that?" you're on the right track. Is there an immediate path forward? Even if they're confused, players should always know where they could go next. They don't need the whole map, just one path to start. Does it connect to the world? Hooks work best when they feel like they're part of a living setting. If the world would react even if the players did nothing, that hook feels real. Does it let the players be the ones to act? A good hook presents a problem that only the players can solve, or at least one that pushes them to try. You don't want your players feeling like spectators. You want them driven. Use ambiguity, not confusion. There's a difference between mystery and vagueness. Mystery would be the guards fled the ruin at midnight after seeing something unspeakable. Vagueness would be like there's a place somewhere out there with some kind of problem. Good ambiguity raises questions and lets the players investigate. Bad vagueness just leaves them blinking at you. To summarize, great hooks follow the flow: setup, tension, direction. And they pass 4 questions. Will it spark questions? Is there a path forward? Does it connect to the world? Do the players get to act? If your hook checks those boxes, you're in business. Now that we know what makes a hook good, let's talk about the 6 major types of adventure hooks. These are the broad templates I use again and again in my own campaigns. Some you'll recognize instantly. Others might give you a new way to start your next game. Type 1 is the call to action. A job needs doing. Will you take it? This is the most common hook in TTRPGs, the classic job offer, bounty, or mission request. The mayor asks for help clearing out bandits. A noble hires the party to retrieve a stolen heirloom. A mysterious letter promises gold and glory. The strength of this type of hook is that it gives clear direction, low friction, easy buy-in. The risks are that it feels generic, if not tied to something personal or world-specific. Type 2 is the shock. Something explodes. Now what? This hook drops the party directly into chaos. A dragon attacks during a festival. A portal tears open the sky. The king is assassinated mid-ceremony. The strengths of this, of course, are high energy and immediate stakes. The risks are if players aren't emotionally invested yet, it can feel overwhelming or random. Type 3, the mystery. Something is wrong. But what? This is one of my favorites. A subtle disturbance or strange detail draws players into investigation. A village has gone silent. People are having the same nightmares. A statue bleeds once per night. The strengths of this type of hook are that it builds intrigue, great for slow burn campaigns. The risks are that it needs strong direction to avoid early confusion or player paralysis. The personal tie-in. This is about you. This is the hook that speaks directly to a PC's backstory or personal goals. A long-lost sibling sends a cryptic letter. The villain is from the cleric's old temple. A noble house wronged the rogue's family. Strengths of this type of hook is that it's instant investment, emotional weight. Risks are that if other players aren't involved, the group may feel sidelined. The slow sink. Something's not quite right, and it's getting worse. This hook builds over time. Players begin in a stable situation that slowly unravels. Food prices are rising and refugees arrive in droves. A sickness spreads quietly in the background. Magic begins to falter, slowly, then suddenly. Strengths of this type of hook are that it's great for long-form campaigns and it builds immersion. Risks are that it needs careful pacing to avoid boredom early on. The false peace. Everything seems fine until it isn't. This hook lures the players into comfort and then pulls the rug out. A town throws a festival for the heroes, but the feast is a trap. An NPC ally turns out to be an enemy spy. A prophecy is fulfilled in the worst possible way. The strengths of this hook is that it subverts expectations, great twist potential. Risks are that it can feel unfair if not foreshadowed enough. Which type should you use? Well, there's no perfect type. It depends on your tone, your players, and your story. Want to start fresh? Use a shock or call to action. Want a slow burn? Start with a mystery or slow sync. Want to center a player? Use a personal tie-in. Want to twist expectations? Try a false piece. Some of the best adventures begin with one type of hook and slowly evolve into another. A job to retrieve a relic becomes a mystery when the ruins are empty. The mystery leads to a personal tie-in when one player recognizes the relic's sigil. And it ends with a shock when a forgotten enemy returns. Let your hooks evolve, because stories evolve. So now you've got a strong hook, structured, interesting, built around solid tension and direction. But if your players don't care about it, none of that matters. A hook that doesn't resonate is like shouting into the wind, no matter how well you wrote it. What matters is what your players care about, not just what the story needs or what you spent the most time prepping. Let's talk about player types. Most players lean into one or two playstyle archetypes. Each one responds to different types of hooks. Here are 5 common types, and how to hook each one. The role player, who wants emotional depth and connection. They love backstory, relationships, and drama. For them, a hook tied to a personal NPC or unresolved past will land immediately. An old friend is in danger. A forbidden romance resurfaces. A dream offers a glimpse of a family member long thought dead. Use personal tie-ins, mythic dreams, and character secrets. The tactician wants challenge and problem solving. These players love planning, optimizing, and testing their builds. A villain with unknown tactics, a siege that must be broken, a race against another adventuring party. Use call to action and strategic conflicts, especially one where they can prepare and outwit the threat. The investigator, who wants mystery and deduction. These are your lore hounds and puzzle lovers. They light up when the hook is a question, not an answer. A murdered noble with too many suspects. A vault with magical safeguards of unknown origin. A conspiracy hidden in ancient texts. Use mystery hooks, layered clues, and foreshadowed twists. The explorer, who wants wonder, freedom, and discovery. Explorers love the unknown. They are here to see new things, not just solve problems. A newly discovered island no map shows. A shifting ruin that appears under certain moons. A magical weather pattern that leads to a floating city. Use open-ended hooks, weird locations, and world-based mysteries. The instigator, who wants chaos, unpredictability, and to stir the pot. You know this one. They're fun, impulsive, and sometimes exhausting, but they get things moving. A mysterious chest appears in their room overnight. A rival gang frames them for something they didn't do. Someone puts a price on their head, but won't say why. Use unstable situations, rivalries, and social pressure. Let them poke the world and watch it ripple. You're probably thinking, my group isn't just one of those, they're a mix. Exactly. That's why I design hooks that have a primary focus, but secondary dimensions. A haunted ruin might start as an explorer's playground, but inside is a puzzle for the investigator, a social ghost encounter for the role player, and a time trap chamber for the tactician. You can tailor things to backstory, and you should, but don't fall into the trap of over-focusing on one character while others sit silent. Try to tie at least one element of every hook to the party's shared situation, a group goal, a faction connection, a shared enemy, or a place they've all been. In your next Session 0, ask each player, what kind of story makes your character get out of bed in the morning? You'll learn way more than just alignment and goals. You'll learn what hooks to use and which to avoid. Short hooks are easy. A missing caravan, a village in need. But what about the hooks that have to hold up a whole campaign? These are the ones you need to layer, build to evolve, and leave room to breathe. Let's break it down. A campaign-level hook is your central question, the through line that gives the players a reason to keep coming back. Who really controls the city's secret government? What happened to the gods that vanished 2 centuries ago? Why is the veil between planes weakening, and who wants to tear it open completely? It doesn't have to be obvious, but it should be present from the start, even if only as a whisper. 3 traits of a good long-term hook. Number 1, it grows with the players. The stakes rise as the party levels up. The mystery deepens. The threat escalates. At level 3, they hear whispers of a cult. At level 7, they confront its agents. At level 11, they realize it's backed by a fallen deity. Number 2, it allows for multiple paths. Players should be able to chase it from different angles, socially, military, magically, politically. The party can infiltrate the nobility to find the conspiracy, or ally with rebels, or track down the cult's relics scattered across the land. Number 3, it raises thematic questions. The best hooks challenge more than character sheets, they challenge beliefs. Do you save the city if the city is already rotten? What do you protect when the world starts to burn? There are 3 ways I like to seed a long-form hook in Session 1. A foreshadowed detail, like a strange NPC, a recurring sigil, a dream. A hidden consequence, like a simple job, has unintended fallout. Personal entanglement. Someone close to the players is involved in something deeper. In one campaign, the players cleared a bandit cave near a trade route. Simple enough. But deep inside, they found a tunnel. Stonework older than anything in the region. Symbols in a forgotten language, and bones fused into the walls. It had nothing to do with the job, but it became the campaign. You don't need a 100-session plot fully written before Session 1. You need an opening, a question, a doorway. Let the campaign shape the answers alongside your players. When planning a long-term hook, ask, can this premise survive player freedom? In other words, can the party ignore it, pursue it from multiple angles, or change its outcome entirely? If the answer is yes, you're building a story, not a railroad. So what happens when your beautifully crafted hook just doesn't land? You've written a great setup. It's got tension, direction, you're excited. And then your players nod, shrug, and start asking if there's a nearby tavern instead. First, take a breath. It happens. It happens to all of us. And it doesn't mean you're a bad GM or a bad writer. The first step is learning to spot the disconnect before it derails the session. Players start asking irrelevant questions. They change the topic or go off track. They don't take notes or follow up. There is no in-character debate or discussion. They ask what else is going on nearby, a big red flag. When that happens, your players are politely telling you, we're not biting. Sometimes the hook isn't bad, it just doesn't match your players' interests. You've written a political conspiracy, but your group wants dungeon crawls. You introduced a social intrigue, but your party is 6 barbarians with a grudge. You tease a slow burn mystery, and they're in kick down the door mode. If it's a mismatch of expectations, not a failure in structure, you can often pivot. There are 3 ways to rescue a faltering hook without starting from scratch. Option A is to raise the stakes now. Players not biting on the missing prince? Have his decapitated horse arrive at the city gates, covered in blood. Now it's not a side quest, it's front page news. Adding urgency can flip a meh hook into a must-act-now situation. Another way is to connect it to something they already care about. Take your hook and tie it to an existing NPC, faction, or player backstory. The cult you introduced, let them frame the bard's sister for murder. Now it's personal. A third option is to let it go and leave it in the world. Sometimes the right move is to let the hook go. Don't kill it. Shelve it. Let it simmer in the background. Maybe the party ignores the merchant caravan now, but later they find a burned-out village where the caravan was headed. Now it's their idea to investigate. Instead of relying on one hook, design several shallow entry points into the deeper story. The haunted mine can be discovered via a job board, a panicked miner NPC, or even strange ore showing up in the market. The villain might reveal themselves in a dream, a letter, or a rival's report. The more paths you offer, the more likely players will organically stumble onto the one that hooks them. When to let go entirely. If you've tried to adjust and the players still aren't interested, let it go. Don't punish them. Don't force it. The players are showing you where the campaign wants to go. And that's okay, because your job isn't to get them on your plot. It's to build a world where their choices create stories. Let's step away from theory for a minute and talk about what really happens at the table. Because for all the framework, strategies, and advice I've shared so far, sometimes you only learn what works by watching what doesn't. The hook that launched an 18-month campaign. This one started simply in a coastal city built on the bones of an ancient leviathan. The players were hired to retrieve a relic from an underwater ruin. Standard mission, right? But when they arrived, the ruin wasn't just flooded. It was sealed by an ancient arcane ward. Inside were carvings no one could read, except the party's wizard, who's taken a forgotten dialect as a flavor detail on their character sheet. That little detail opened everything up. The carvings described a sealed door far beneath the ocean, a gate built to hold something called the Watcher. And just like that, a dungeon dive became an existential mystery. That hook, an underwater retrieval job, grew into a campaign that spanned sea empires, underwater cities, and a sentiment all buried beneath the waves. And it worked because it started simple, but left space for the players to make it bigger. The hook that flopped, the spider cult of Varnish. Now let me tell you about a hook that didn't work. I had a whole arc prepared around a secretive cult of spider worshippers, ancient webs laced with prophecy, cursed silk relics, a false queen who ruled through fear. It was weird, it was layered. I loved it. But the players didn't bite. The moment I described the silk-veiled priestess and her whispering acolytes, the barbarian just said, "Nope, I hate spiders, I'm out." They skipped the city entirely, took a job on a ship, and sailed to the next region. I tried to reintroduce the cult 2 more times, planted webs, left omens, even cursed a magic item. But the party had collectively decided, this is not our story. That failed hook taught me a simple truth I came back to all the time. No matter how cool it is to you, if the players don't engage, it doesn't exist. Hooks only work if your players are curious, challenged, and emotionally invested. In another campaign, a player received a vision in a dream, a mask with 3 eyes floating over a battlefield of ash. At the time, it was just flavor, a prophecy-like omen I dropped in for mood. But the player latched onto it, started researching, asked NPCs, commissioned replicas of the mask from artisans in every town. So I made the mask real. I gave it history. I gave it a name, the Oracle's Eye, and wove it into the central villain's arc. That campaign ended with the player wearing the mask during the final battle, choosing to see the world as it could be rather than as it was. Sometimes your best hook isn't the one you planned. It's the one your players dig into without prompting. Your job isn't to force your story onto them. It's to listen for the moments they care and build those moments into the story. You've prepped a solid hook. You've delivered it. Maybe the players bit, but something's off. They're going through the motions. They're engaged, kind of, but not excited. It's not flopping, but it's not soaring either. Let's talk about how to tune a hook while it's already in motion, without breaking immersion or losing momentum. You can often spot disengagement early, but it's not always players zoning out. Watch for minimal table chatter, no in-character debate. They don't ask follow-up questions. They agree with NPCs too quickly. They start looking for unrelated side quests. That's not sabotage, that's feedback. They're telling you this isn't grabbing us. You don't have to throw out the whole thread. Sometimes a late narrative shift is enough. If the goal isn't exciting enough, make the consequences clear. The players are asked to stop a mine collapse, but they don't care until they realize one of the trap miners is an NPC they bonded with 3 sessions ago. Use exciting relationships, moral dilemmas, or secrets to make the outcome personal. Maybe the players just aren't afraid of the threat. The villain is too abstract, too distant, or too cliché. Introduce a rival party with the same goal, or make the villain appear mid-session, charismatic, prepared, and one step ahead. Now it's not just about the mission, it's about beating someone else to the prize. Nothing wakes up a table like a smart earned twist. The rescue mission becomes a frame job. The ancient artifact is fake, but the vault's guardian doesn't know. The town's mayor who hired them is working for the other side. Don't add twists just to be clever. Add them when the story needs oxygen. Drop in a new NPC with an alternate perspective on the same hook. The guard captain wants the players to follow orders, but the local smuggler, she tells them you're being lied to. Now the players get to decide who to trust, and suddenly the hook has flavor. Good GMs don't just follow sheet music. They riff, they adapt, they listen to the player's rhythm and build off it. Your hook is a melody, but the session is a jam. Before abandoning a hook entirely, I give myself 3 chances to tweak it. Shift the stakes, introduce a wild card like NPC, twist, or rival, make it personal to at least one player. If none of those land, I gracefully pivot. The story moves on, and so does the campaign. Before we wrap up, I want to give you one final toolkit: how to test a hook before it ever hits the table. Because the best GMs don't just build hooks, they pressure test them. You've done the prep. You're ready to roll it out. But what if there's a way to know beforehand if your players will care? A simple low-pressure test can save you from running something that lands with a thud. Try to describe your hook, the core of the session or campaign, in 1 sentence. The players must take action because urgent reason against obstacle. Here's a strong example. The players must track down a missing priest before a storm floods the valley and releases the spirits trapped beneath the temple. Strong tension, clear stakes, visual threat. Weak example. The players arrive in a town where something's weird. Vague. No action, no urgency. If you can't write the hook in 1 tight sentence, it's probably not ready. That doesn't mean scrap it. It means sharpen it. Run your hook past a friend or even your players out of character. Just say, hey, what do you think about this idea? Then watch for one thing. Do they say, and start asking questions? Or do they just nod and go, cool? Means curiosity. Curiosity is gold. Cool might mean you've still got work to do. Sometimes you can even test a hook in character through NPC banter. A tavern rumor, a bard's offhand comment, a news bulletin on a job board. If players start digging deeper, asking who, what, when, you've got a live hook that's already working. Rather than crafting one perfect hook, design a small handful of light ideas and see which one the players chase. A job board that has 3 missions. A town elder mentioning 2 rumors. An NPC offers a cryptic prophecy. Whichever one they respond to, that's the real session. The others can be recycled later. Before I run any session, I ask myself 3 fast questions. Would I be excited to play this as a PC? Can the players act on it immediately if they want to? If they ignore it, will the world keep moving? If I say yes to all 3, I'm ready. We've covered a lot today, so before we close the book on this episode, let's zoom out for a moment. Hooks are more than just plot starters. They're invitations, little open doors we leave ajar for our players. When we do it right, those doors don't just open, the players run through them, pulling the world behind them. Let's recap what you've learned. In this episode, we explored why hooks matter more than just setting up a story. What makes a hook actually work? Setup, tension, direction. The 6 major types of hooks and when to use each. How to tailor hooks to different player archetypes. How to build campaign-spanning hooks that grow with the story. What to do when a hook flops and how to pivot. Real stories from my own games, wins and losses. Tools to tune hooks mid-session. And finally, how to test your hooks before they hit the table. Hooks don't have to be perfect. They just have to be alive. They should pulse with possibility, with danger, with meaning. And when your players take the first step towards your hook, even if they don't know where it's going, that's when the story truly begins. Next week's episode is a special one. I'm sitting down with someone who's been with me since the very beginning. One of my first players, a longtime friend, and a massive part of why I became a professional GM in the first place. We'll be talking about what it's like to be on the other side of the screen, from early games and character deaths, to playtesting products, to showing up 4 nights a week for my tables. You won't want to miss it. It's a conversation about stories, growth, and the friendships we build through these games. Thanks again for joining me here on Dice and Quills. If you found something useful today, consider sharing the podcast, leaving a review, or even supporting the show. You can find me on social media and on my Patreon. Links are in the episode notes. Every download, comment, and share helps this community grow. Until next time, sharpen your quills, ready your dice, and keep telling stories that matter.